Okay, everybody, sorry about that. It's 110 out in the Arizona desert today, so my phone got a little hot and I had to go throw it in the freezer for a little while, cool it all down. So hopefully we'll be better here. So let's keep looking at this expansion valve. So let me go spot that thing again. Here it is. It's going to be right back, right about in the middle there. You can see that patch of foam right there. So I'm going to try to keep that right there. Now, I'm going to point out the stuff you need. Now, see, you've got that screw right there where my finger is. You got two screws there. You got two hex head screws. And I don't know what the size of the wrench is, but I'm just taking a small little wrench like this. Oops. It's down here somewhere. Here it is. And I'm going to work that real slow. It's probably going to take me 15 minutes to get those out, and once I get the new valve in there, get them back in. But you can see, if you are willing to work and contort yourself a little bit, you can slip your hand up, right where that duct used to be, right here. See, right through the glove box, and you can come right there. Now I'm having to work left-handed right now. I think I can do it. And you can also, if you want to, I think, maybe get your right hand in here and work by feel. If you just kind of visualize, that's what I do a lot, working on these Japanese cars where it's just a puzzle. If you can visualize what's going on and you're patient, you can do it. And so I have not yet replaced that valve. I'm going to be going for it. The one in the back is going to be a piece of cake. We'll see how this one is. But if I had to do all this from scratch, knowing what I know now, I think I could probably have this done in an hour, which is a whole lot better than going to a dealer and having them tear up the car and tear the whole dash out. Okay, now, bonus footage. I also replaced the compressor. Now, in this model year, it's not the smaller compressor, it's the bigger one. So if you go on Amazon or something like that, you want the one that's the later year. It's way down there. You know, if you look real carefully, you can kind of see it. Here's where the low pressure return is, and you can see where the block is down there. Now, I will tell you that it is possible to get not only the alternator but the compressor out through this part right here of the car. You don't need to take the whole front off. You don't need to take the radiator assembly off. Now, you do have to take this elbow off, and there's a screw here and one in the back. Just real quick, there's other videos on the net that talk about this, but there wasn't one specifically for an '07 Sienna. So I'll just tell you how I did it if you have to do a compressor and expansion valves, which is what I'm end up doing. So first and foremost, what you have to do is you're going to have to get the idler pulley off before you're able to pull this elbow off. So what I do is take that bolt off down right there, and then there's another one that is, I'm pointing right at it. So you're going to have to get a long extension, and you have to go underneath this elbow and go through there. Now, you're going to lose that nut unless you're real careful. Now, what you can do is take a rag and put the rag over the idler pulley. Okay, that's what this guy is. I'm going to put my finger there. That's the idler pulley. Put a rag over it, kind of where my finger is, all the way back under this elbow, and then make that rag come out right in this area down here. So when you lose that thing off of your socket, you're going to be able to catch it. Now, if you got a super duper special socket that'll grab a nut, hey, God bless you. That's great. Okay. Now, once you got that thing off, the first time I did the alternator, I took this off, but I didn't bother with it this time. You can take this whole assembly out. There's a gasket right in there. If you got a bad thermostat, now's the time to replace it. Pull it out and just bend this thing out of the way. All right? So that gets you out of the way so you can start working on the alternator. Now, to do the alternator, you're going to have to release the tension on the tensioning pulley. Here is the tensioning pulley. Now, what I did is I took a 14 millimeter wrench, put it right here, and used a cheater pipe, okay, and then just levered it back that way, and that releases the tension. And then you can take the tension off of the belt, which is right here, okay. Now, if you've got a good serpentine belt, okay, just don't let them get slipped off the pulleys and get in the wrong place. If it's time for the belt, check the way the belt goes. It's really complicated. I replaced my belt. It took a long time to do it. I'll tell you a trick. to get the belt around the pulley that's way, way deep back there, use a bright light and use a stick. Use a long stick. Now, you could use something like that. Okay, that's just a garden stick that I was going to throw away. And you can use the tip of that thing to push the belt down around the back of the pulley. The other thing you can use is use a wooden stick and make it pretty long, and you can get it all the way back there. Now, I can tell you, it takes a little patience, but you can do it. You'll probably do some swearing in the meantime while you're doing it, but you can get it done. And then just make sure it's in all the right grooves and you'll be fine. Okay, well, let's go back to the alternator. Now, you can't really see it yet because I've got it all together. But there's a bolt here. There's a bolt on the opposite side there. And then there's one other mystery bolt. And if you don't get this one out, you're never going to get the alternator out. It's going to drive you crazy and you're going to bend something up. Now, where it is, it's really kind of hard to see. But it is going to be a bracket that is down back here, straight back into the engine. I can't really see it well enough to show you, but it's just to the right of this heat insulator, this covering, okay, or I'm sorry, to the left, and it's just above this bolt right here I'm pointing to, which is actually the bolt for the compressor. So once you get that third bolt out, take this bolt out. You can spread this little bushing out a little to give you some room. Take the other bolt down at the bottom that you can't quite see. I think it's 14 millimeter. Then you've got to get this guy off. This is the main nut. This guy just slides right off. I'm not going to slide it off, but that comes off. And then you got this guy right here. That's all the harnessing for the alternator. So move that out of the way. Now you got to take this cover off, and there's a little bracket that holds this down. But once you do that, you can get this whole harness out to the side, take this over to the side, get this alternator free, and you can move it right up through here. Now, if you're just doing the alternator, you'll have to get it around this hose, which is a little bit of work. But if you're also doing the compressor, go ahead and do yourself a favor. After you've evacuated the system and gotten all the refrigerant out, take this line off the compressor. Okay, get this guy out of the way. I just wrapped it around right over here. Put something over the pipe so it doesn't get contaminated. And now you can very gently work and mess with that alternator and get it out. Then you got to do the compressor. Okay, I'll just tell you right now, there's 4 bolts on the compressor. This is one bolt. The other bolt is directly across from it, and you have 2 bolts at the bottom. Now, this is not really a bolt. It's a stud and a nut. Why they use studs, I will never understand. If you have a stud remover, and if you have the socket that will run that stud out, I would suggest you do it. I didn't. It can be done, but it's a lot of work. The bolts on the bottom, those are actually bolts. You have to get down there. You will have to remove both tubes, get them out of the way. And once that stuff's all free, you can get the compressor out. It is some work, it's a puzzle, but you can do it. And then you just reverse that process and get it all back in there. The only other thing I'll say is there's a plate on the bottom of the compressor that holds some of the wiring harness. So you have to work by feel and you have to visualize when you do it. But it can be done. It took me, the first time, second time I had the alternator off, first time compressor took me maybe 4 hours. And that was on and off because it was really hot out here when I did it. By the way, also when you do that, be sure take off your, disconnect your battery. So when you're working with all the electrical stuff here, you don't get any sparks. You don't want to let the smoke out of anything. And that should be about do it. So there's a little bonus on the front part of the car. And now I am off to get the expansion valve that I'm waiting for to come in, and I'm going to replace them, and maybe I'll have a part 3. We'll see.